Hello and welcome to episode 177 of Masters of the Forge. My name is Adam and I have Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Adam. Hi, everyone.
That sounded like a disease. I have Jason.
Well, that's... Hold on. We still have to keep
Hey,
these safe for
hey,
work.
honey. Hey, honey. I have something to admit to you. I have Jason.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it safe for work here, ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
boys and girls, and children of all ages. So
Only
I'm just
one
gonna
of
retire
those
that.
types of people are listening right now.
Children of all ages?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So, Jason, what have you been doing for hobby progress?
Okay, so Dreadtober. My October/Dreadtober commitment was the
You mean
Siren
Orktober?
Dread. I do have that Orc Dread that I haven't finished yet. Well,
Something to think about. Food for thought.
Yeah. Well, this one's the Osiren Dread from Forge World, the Thousand Suns model, and I had, the thing with the Thousand Suns paint scheme is that I have to do the base coat over the span of hours. So anyway, I did that at the beginning of the month, and then at the movie marathon, I went ahead and painted the rest of him. Actually, I haven't done the shoulders and the arms yet because I'm waiting for the arms to come in from Forge World, because Forge World either lost my order or forgot my order and hasn't shipped it yet. And it's been 20 business days last Friday. So,
yeah.
Something fun about this one. How I always kind of laugh about finding pieces of mold from the casting mold.
Hunks of mold, yeah.
So I was looking at the lower right leg, and you can tell where the mold is fallen off for other things, because it looks like there's some battle damage. So I need to go through and do some stippling to put in some battle damage. It's really well painted, but it's just you can tell that needs to be battle damaged. So that was basically what I did. I did a lot of detail work and capes on my four sorcerers. Aspiring, Exalted, Infernal Master, and something else. Sorcerer, just a regular sorcerer. Been working on those capes, trying to make those look good without using the airbrush. They're still a work in progress, but I did a lot of details on them during the movie marathon also. And then I realized... I went and had a game with Keith, and as I was looking through my stuff, I realized that a lot of my aspiring sorcerers, I haven't painted their capes yet, and so I'll need to do that, because the cape I'm painting those to kind of denote loyalties, whether they're loyal to, Ahriman, or if they. So
if you don't paint the capes, they're loyal to no one.
Maybe.
Sure.
I don't know. Sure, why not? And I have mine set to where green capes are part of the hidden ones. They were loyal to Aemon in that group during the heresy, and blue is loyal to Ahriman, and purple is the Thousand Suns, not Thousand Suns, sorry, Alpha Legion, because I wanted to have one little Alpha Legion, and there's a nod to harassing Keith, so... Especially since I took the the Alpha Legion Praetor and turned him into a sorcerer. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, that's not a lot of hobby. It's like I said last time, I think I've got this giant project I've been working on, and it's almost done. I might finish it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, any hobby progress is good, right? There's no reason. It's not a job, so yeah, just enjoy yourself.
Well, I got a lot of demons to get through, man.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. You're not wrong about that.
And not just the ones in my head. So, yeah. So, what about you, Adam? What do we have for you? I see you've got some interesting stuff in here.
Oh yeah. So after I built all that stuff, I looked at my bingo card, and I saw that there's I think a 10 model unit and 2 terrain projects on there.
Okay.
So even though I have like a billion orcs unpainted right now in the queue, I want to finish that bingo card, the one that they released in White Dwarf. Yeah. So, I mean, first I started by painting that Mega Armored War Boss from the kit, because I've been wanting to use one, and I actually, my old one, I added to the Gazgul diorama that I made.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually don't even have a Mega Armored War Boss model right now in my army. So I painted him up. Wow. He's really cool. I did him in the Morker scheme, the blue and yellow. I actually made him quartered. Like, made a quartered scheme out of it, because he's all power armor. I figure, well, it sounds like fun. Let's make him a quartered war boss. I did him. That was a fun paint job. It was easy. You know, it's anything that's just armor is easy. And I built all the Orcterius terrain that I got in the starter kit they sent us. And I spray painted it blue. Now, the cool thing is, you know, my airbrush has been out of commission for a while. Like, the needle's bent, and I feel disdain for it. So, but my brother-in-law found an airbrush he never used. It's just an Iwata, but I think that would be good for terrain. So I think I might get that fired up to work on this terrain. But first, apparently CK Studios has a video on airbrush maintenance out there. So I'm going to watch that a couple times and then start to work on that.
That's how I learned my airbrush maintenance from them.
Yeah.
You know, they're really good.
Sounds like they have the secret sauce on that, because that's really the biggest frustration with me, is like keeping it clean and not clogging and stuff. And like, I don't even know how people work for hours with their airbrush when mine clogs up after 5 minutes. So I'm sure there must be a secret. Even though I clean it out, I'm still clogged up after a few minutes of use. So, yeah.
Which Iwata does Brandon have?
I forget. I think it's one of the ones from Michael's. So I'm not sure how good. I'm sure it'll be fine for terrain. You know?
I have a Iwata Eclipse that I absolutely love. In fact, it's kind of like I have a 105, a Patriot 105, which is my kind of terrain / priming workhorse, and then I have the Iwata that's kind of my, you know, mid detail to some detail, and then the Sotar for the fine detail, because I am crazy enough to go through and airbrush teeth.
No, I mean, and if you can do it, that's fine. And you get a lot of great results in good time, right? So it's definitely something I should work on, especially with this terrain, because I don't like terrain like other people like terrain.
Understood.
I know other people enjoy terrain. It's not my favorite thing to work on. Yeah. So, I'm gonna look at that and maybe get some stencils. Actually, I got some stencils with one of Quinn's recent. Like, someone bought him like a Matchbox Derby car, and it came with flame stencils.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so I'm gonna do some of that. That'll be pretty cool. See if that works. I don't know. So yeah, I did that Orcterius train. I kind of got a little hobby butterfly and started building the Titanicus terrain that I got from Flipside. What's up? I got that Titanicus terrain from Flipside during a tournament. It was like part of some damaged goods that they were using as prize support. Right. And holy moly, the Civitas terrain box, it comes with, it's a lot of terrain. You get a lot of buildings in that. I'm not even done yet. And I'm like, do I have enough for a whole 4x4 board here? Or whatever it is, 3x3. There's a lot. When I'm done, I'm going to try to build some after we talk tonight, because Pat's coming over tomorrow, and we're going to try to learn or like relearn the Titanicus rules, because he got like money from like a lump sum from something, and he bought the starter, and he's building them, and he wants to learn how to play. So I was like, well, instead of using Legos, which is what we used last time, me and Mark and I did, we'll
Yeah,
actually have some buildings. They won't be painted, but they'll be put out. I might have time to spray paint them. I'm not sure. He's going to be here at noon, so probably not. So I'm going to try and get them all built. I'll take a picture and show you. It's a lot,
please. Yeah.
and they're so like they're built so that they have so like you have ground floor levels
Hmm.
that are just ground floor levels. Then you have other ones that can either be used as ground floor or you can stack them on top of the ground floor. So the way the stacking works is the corners of these pieces are a little, they don't get glued together. They're a little frayed out. If you look closely, someone who's really detail oriented might be annoyed by that.
Hmm.
But what it does, it lets you fit them on top of other pieces without gluing it. So you can like stack and
Oh.
unstack and all that. It's crazy. They're really nice.
Okay, so you can basically turn something from a like, for example, one floor building to like a multiple floor building by just stacking.
Yeah, and you can even do like things like skyscrapers, right? So if you do like
Wow.
just a little square building, if you do like 10 little square buildings, they can all stand on top of each other and make one like giant tall building. I'm not sure what you'd use that for, but you might do something with it. Um,
I know
so
there's a bunch
yeah,
of hold on. I'm sorry. There's a bunch of people who are releasing STLs to create terrain
yeah.
for Titanicus. That's some of it. I would almost want to have the the printer just so I could like try and upsize it to use it for you know
Right. So
yeah
I probably will be buying so there's a company called Grimdark Terrain that
yeah
they make 8, 6, and 10 millimeter scale, whatever Titanicus is or the thereabouts,
yeah.
and they make the really good Titanicus terrain. I'm gonna buy one of those sets and print some, but
Yeah.
this one box of plastic actually, I mean, it if I'm being honest, building this train is still less of a pain in the ass than printing all of this kind of terrain
Yeah.
because it is a pain in the butt to
Oh yeah.
print. But it's nice to have lots of fun, unique pieces. So yeah, that's a thing I'm gonna do. But for now, this plastic stuff is great. I think that's it for actual hobby. I rebased my Storm Boys, all like 49 of them during our movie marathon that we had in Masters of the Forge chat. Um,
Yeah.
those movies were just the worst.
Oh, I have those down in Beyond the Fringe.
Okay, well that'll be both our Beyond the Fringe then.
Okay, because we could
Uh,
talk for quite a while about those
oh my
movies.
god, I want. Anyways, I think I've kind of forgotten to talk about some of my reading.
Yeah.
Did I say that I read House of Night and Chain by David Annandale,
No,
the
I don't
horror
remember you
series?
reading it.
Yeah, I read that. That was really good. I enjoyed that. It was scary.
Okay.
Um, I thought it was an Age of Sigmar novel. It's not. It's a 40K novel.
Okay.
It's it's about a it's about an imperial commander who has to retire home so that he can be the um, planetary governor of his home planet.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
it is really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm in the middle of Avenging Sun by Guy Haley.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new series. It's this so new. It's like I think they're releasing the third book soon. So
Yeah.
it's an Indomitus Crusade novel about kind of the beginning of the Indomitus era. So it goes back in time to when Gilliman started when Gilliman first revealed the Primaris project
Okay.
with Belisarius Cawl and the start of assembling the Crusade fleets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's really cool because there's a whole lot of. I mean, I'm getting into war right now, like Space Marines going blah 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 blah, but most of the book is spent on like the Underhive in Terra and on starships, like with on starship bridges, and has a bunch of cool starship captain and admiral characters. It has a
Okay.
cool Inquisitor character who has retinue, and the retinue are really cool. But like a good quarter of the book is spent in like a hive scriptorum, like on Terra in the Imperial Palace.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like the kinds of people who are described as quote unquote scribes
Uh huh.
is is fascinating.
That many,
So
huh?
imagine if you will every cry for help from around the galaxy coming to Terra on with or coming to Terra on like from astropaths, right?
Uh huh.
And they actually like write down on paper what the translation of the cry for help is.
Yeah.
And imagine like a place where all of those cries for help come in and are assessed by scribes from one like multiple levels of scribes, and like the the filtering process, like the actual red tape takes decades to get through the
Oh
scribes,
my. Oh.
only for like 90% of them to end up fluttering down one long chute into the basement where they're burned for fuel. Where
Oh.
there's an entire like job and class of people who make all their money by sifting through the refuse of all these like missives that have been rejected. And
Yeah.
if they find a mistake, they get paid for finding the mistake, and also the scribe who made the mistake gets burned at the stake. It's
Wow.
pretty great. It's pretty. I'm not really giving anything away there. Just like all of the stuff having to do with that is so cool,
But
and also
that's just so
Space Marines.
40K.
It
Oh my
is. It's
god.
super 40K, and it's yeah. Also Space Marines, and also Belisarius Call and his giant spaceship, which is awesome.
So
There's a lot going on there.
that's kind of what I'm more interested in is the whole, how does Call act and what is he up to, I guess.
He's like Monty Hall in this book, because it talks about how the Primaris project is revealed to the High Lords and stuff, right? So he's
Uh-huh.
like, a brand new car, like brand new impulsor, like, but that's not all, right?
There's more.
But wait, there's more. It's really funny.
I'll have to.
I'm enjoying it. I've heard that the rest of the books aren't as good, but I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll have
it's
to.
called once again. It's called Avenging Sun by Guy Haley.
I'm now going through and rotating out where I'll read
Hmm.
a a 40K GW book, and then I'll read something that's not GW 40K to kind of keep
Yeah,
the
I'm
palette
with you.
cleansed.
I'm with you. I need to find something. I need to. I always end up just picking up my 40K stuff,
Yeah.
which is a problem because I've actually bought other books. So this one somebody suggested, it's called Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. It's he I think he's a poet, but
Uh huh.
I think he's Jamaican. Don't
Okay.
quote me on that one. But he's definitely from like the Caribbean region, and it's been described as Game of Thrones but in Africa or something.
Ooh.
Maybe not Africa. That might be me being racist and not remembering what they said. But at any rate, it's supposed to be really good. So I want, and it's not 10 books long. It's a book, so
Okay.
that's also beneficial. So I have that in my queue. I'll read that after Avenging Sun.
Yeah, I'm reading. Oh, I can't remember his name. It's science fiction author whose name completely
Uh,
escapes me, but the book is The Rise and Fall of Dodo, and it's a time travel science fiction sort of thing.
cool.
Neil Stevenson, I think, is the name. So
Cool, cool, cool.
I haven't read any of this stuff in a while, but I thought the other night I was just like, I can't read a 40K book. I gotta do something else.
Right.
All right, so yeah, man, that's
Pretty
cool.
great. Pretty great.
All right, so are we on to games played?
I think we are.
Okay, so hey, I played a game.
Bum, bum,
I
bum.
know I should like have like a big drum roll and like explosions, but no. All right, so I got in a game with Keith. He's got his kill team narrative. He's actually doing this whole world with a few other people because it's a world that kind of takes place in Octarius. It's got some Nids, it's got some Nids and some Orcs, and it's been a while since I played. And man, I could not remember the kill team rules like almost at all. I was because they're a little finicky, I will admit, and you have to kind of remember the subtle differences between them and 40K. And there was one point I'm just like, I don't care, what the saves are. Let's just keep going. I'd rather just let my guys die. I don't care. Anyway, so I think I talked about the narrative before, but that was back in like September or August.
Right,
So
right.
narrative takes place on a rocky world that has both Tyranids and Orcs on it. It's not like a verdant world. There's barely enough resources to keep the Orcs and Nids alive.
Okay.
But there's not enough for them to like build an escape vessel and get off the planet,
Okay.
which I think is kind of a funny, equilibrium to have for the Orcs, to be honest, and for the Nids also. Uh, Let
They're
me
just
see.
kind of trapped there in
Yeah,
love.
they're trapped there, and the Thousand Sons are like, "Hey, I think there's something cool here," which that's going to be a problem.
Mhm.
So he brought Keith brought commandos, and I was able to pretty much like shoot him almost completely off the board,
Mhm.
or just pop them, brain pop them. I used the new Warp Coven rules for the
Oh,
Thousand
from the White
Sons.
Dwarf.
Yeah, and then they got close in combat, and he wiped my entire team in a turn.
So you just white. How many models did he have left before that happened?
I think I knocked out over half of like I think he had maybe 5 models left, maybe
Uh-huh.
6. Um, and I just I was fine until he got into close combat, and it was just like, well, I'm dead. So that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. I had a good laugh about that. I do like how like I really didn't work too hard on my list because just been busy. But the new list creation for them is so much better. I mean, I know that I complained about this, and they actually, they fixed the issue that I thought was wrong. So I
Mhm.
was pretty happy about that. It was like, okay, good, they did that. Or they did one of the things I had mentioned. Not like they actually listened to me on that because there's not enough turnaround time there. But yeah, so it was fun. It was fun to get a game in. That's why I discovered all of my sorcerers had black metallic cloaks. I was like, no, 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 we could actually paint these guys correctly.
Mhm.
And so yeah. So what about you, Adam? What you got with for your gaming?
Oh well, I got a game in with Ed's Death Guard.
All right.
Um, I haven't played against Ed yet. He's in our community.
Okay.
Um, recently started playing Warhammer. He had his Death Guard.
All right.
And I'm preparing for Du Bois GT this week. So
Yeah.
I asked him if he could do a match play game. And I think they've been mainly doing match play games anyways.
Yeah.
So we played. I don't remember which mission we played, to be, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's one of those ones where you need to hold 2 objectives to score any primary points. So
Okay.
just holding one, you don't get it. So that was interesting. And I've been trying out my list. I think I have too much infantry in it. It's like there's a lot of infantry. So what is it?
Yeah.
It's like the vehicles I have are a battle wagon and a battle wagon, and 2 trucks. Everything else is people. I it's
Whoa, that is
yeah, it's a lot.
yeah.
So it's a war boss. It's a mega armored Big Mech.
Hmm.
So the mega armored Big Mech's really funny. He's got the warlord trait that makes him -1 to wound, but he's also got the armor that gives him +1 save. So
Okay.
he's got a 1+ save, which I guess is a 0+ save in cover. I mean, you always fail.
Uh,
You always fail on one.
yeah, you always fail
So
on one.
so
So
it's whatever, but it's just really funny. Anyways, he's awesome. I he exists just to like kind of teleport across the board and be objective secured character standing on an objective that you can't move.
oh, okay, yeah,
Um,
that's a good one.
a weird boy who throughout the entire game never actually managed to teleport anyone because I either failed or he denied my teleport with Mortarion. And it's 10 boys and 2 units of 10 Gretchen, a unit of 15, 10, and 5 Storm Boys, 2 units of Ludas that go in a truck. So there's like a unit of 7 and a unit of 5. So they go in the truck, and if it explodes, I just remove models from the small one and keep the
Yeah,
big one. And then whatever's left of the small one can run and go get objectives. Um,
that's a good one.
and did I say Storm Boys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the elites. The elites are like pain in the butt. It's a unit of Mega Knobs, a unit of Knobs. They go in a truck. I 2 units of Commandos, a big unit of Tank Busters, like real big, and something else. Well,
That's
whatever
a
it is, I'm sure
lot
it's
of
fine.
infantry, man.
There's so much infantry. It's a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot of Storm Boys. I learned a few good things. Like one thing, like if your opponent has a bunch of barrage, like they can target stuff that's not visible, then the
Yeah.
Storm Boys need to be deep strike because they're going to get myrtleized.
That's true.
But it was pretty good. I enjoyed myself. He won by like a point. Uh,
Hey.
yeah, it
Okay.
was really good. John's dog ate an entire tray of brownies.
Um
She's
special
okay.
brownies?
No, not special brownies.
Okay. Thought I would ask.
She's okay. Well, 50 grams of cocoa.
Yeah, it's not good for dogs at all.
No, but she's okay now. We're all glad
Okay.
Tippy's feeling well. Uh, but that's it. That's what I did. I only played the one game, but I think I have a much better grasp of what I'm doing. I might be playing a game with Zane on Tuesday. We'll see what Wendy feels about that.
Okay.
I kind of wish I could get somebody to come here. So, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, eh?
That's true. That's true.
But I guess with that, it's time to go beyond the fringe. That was like my world eaters beyond the fringe.
Okay. Well, I can do stuff with that. That's easy. Yeah.
Yeah, roar.
Okay. Hold on. Oh, I'm starting this, right? Okay, yeah.
I mean, we have like mine is fine. I'm deleting mine because mine is yours. There
Pretty
we go.
much. I mean that yeah. So we did the movie marathon with crap, I can't remember what was there. We did the movie marathon through Discord. Yes, it's kind of hobby related, but it's good to hang out with friends. So we watched 5 movies. Attack the Block. Who chose Attack the Block?
I think it was Tucker. He's the only one
Who
with
didn't?
any taste whatsoever.
That's true. You picked Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I chose Velocipaster. Dave chose Zombies, and Nick chose Suburban Sasquatch. So I don't know if Attack the Block was actually good or if it was good compared to Suburban Sasquatch. Is that a fair assessment?
Suburban Sasquatch was the biggest pile of hot street trash I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could even put it on Amazon to give it away for free.
Mhm.
I, Boy, it was. I don't know. I thought Velocipaster was actually really funny whenever if the guy came out in the inflatable T Rex costume.
I think Velocipaster is I think Velocipaster was the most on purpose.
Yeah.
Personally, like I I think I think it was intentionally bad where Suburban Sasquatch was
They were trying.
I don't know if Suburban Sasquatch they were trying. I mean, define trying, right?
That's well, I think the 2 minute dialogue between the characters that you were pretty sure lasted for 8 to 10 minutes, even though the clock time said two, was definitely boy, that one was rough. Yeah.
Wait, which
Um,
one?
that was the last one. That was when they had the two characters that had zero chemistry together. The two
Oh, well,
actors. Yeah.
yeah. The Native American caricature
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
actually, what was it? Like it was. I don't know. I don't know what that was about.
It was pretty amazing. You know, I did enjoy Attack the Block, and it was good to see Elvira, Mistress of the Dark again.
Yeah, it's been a while since I
Yeah,
watched that movie, and that was my choice, the Elvira.
yeah,
And I must say that there are some parts in it that were kind of Revenge of the Nerdsy, where you're like, "Ooh, okay, 1990s,
yeah,
go
a
back
little,
to sleep." But at the same time, there was some great stuff in there, and
yeah,
it definitely was pretty fun to watch.
yeah.
But with the zombies and zombies and Velocipaster, we're talking about movies that are intentionally bad.
Yeah.
Where Attack the Block was actually pretty good, but it still knew what it was. Suburban Sasquatch is a mystery to me, and everybody, you should go out and watch it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's kind of like telling people, "Hey guys, you should go out and try fentanyl." All right, like, how dare you? I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's an acquired taste. Is that it? Is that what we're saying about Suburban Sasquatch?
I mean, one time I dropped a Cookie Crisp on the floor. I
Uh
picked
huh.
it up and put it in my mouth again because I dropped it on the floor. It was only on the floor for 5 seconds. Unfortunately, it was right near the cat box. So if
Oh,
we're talking if we're
oh,
talking about that kind of acquired taste, sure.
oh,
But
oh, wow.
talk about a surprise. All right, guys. With that, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about the new Crusade mission packs, Containment and Catastrophe. Damn, I knew it was around here somewhere. Damn, where is it?
Can I help you?
Ah! Scared me.
What do you seek?
I need the perfect scenario for a narrative game I'm running this week, and I can't find one.
Sir, this is the Black Library. We don't have narrative scenarios.
Well, then where should I go?
Might I recommend the Tabletop Campaign Repo?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo? What's that?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo is an ad-free site for hosting resources related to playing tabletop miniatures wargaming.
Oh, like scenarios?
Absolutely. Also, event packs, custom objectives, tracking sheets, custom terrain rules, maps, icon packs, award templates, and more.
Oh, and this is for Warhammer 40k?
Among other things, there's also Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and others. They're always open for content submissions for any system, even non-Games Workshop materials.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like a great way to save all of this great content the community makes. A lot of that stuff often ends up disappearing into a dead message board or Facebook group.
Exactly. It's a real community effort.
Great. So how do I get there?
Just go to that webway gate marked tcrepo.com.
tcrepo.com. Got it. Can I ask you one more question before I go?
Fire away.
This place is really easy to find. How come Armand can never find it?
Oh, because it's more funny that way.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Once again, the Tabletop Campaign repository can be found at tcrepo.com, and they're always looking for submissions.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 hour a night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said. Welcome back. We now have coffee and snacks. 9 p.m. 9 p.m. the perfect time for snacks and coffee.
Oh, that's right. It is. Well, yeah.
For now, hey, we fall back later. That's fine.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I've tried to go through and like stop drinking caffeine just to, for trying to stay somewhat healthy and whatnot. And right about now, I really kind of want caffeine.
The Funk's your brother? Yeah.
Yeah, like right now, I'm just like, that.
The Funk's your brother?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's you have to do it. You have to do it. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. So, the first Crusade. So, here's the thing. I was wondering what they were going to do with these mission packs.
Yeah.
Because at some point, you start repeating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you've refined your narrative missions to the point where you like them, and to change them at all would just be changing it for the point of just changing it. Well, what they did was they started making these Crusade mission packs not just specific to the campaign that they're associated with, but they started to take on a theme. So Containment is the new Planet Strike, which all of these missions and like the supplemental rules that go with them are about missions with a clear attacker and defender. So someone is the attacker and someone is the defender. Yeah. With all of the kind of stuff you might expect to go along with that. And the way they've done it here in the game setup sequence and the army building and the missions, I think they've nailed it here. And maybe you agree with me, maybe not. Let's read through. We've summarized this stuff here, and I know we both have Containment. Yes. Catastrophe is a preview copy that I just got this week, actually like 2 days ago. So you won't have that one yet. So it'll be kind of like, I'll just have to kind of tell you what's in it. But, so why don't we do we'll do this like in a call and response type format where I'll talk about what's in the stuff and you can react or so we can discuss it together. So Planet Strike, I think the easiest way to do this is to go through the game sequence and talk about each thing. You've picked wherever there's a pick, like wherever there's a list of things, we've both picked one to discuss instead of reading all of them out, except for one situation. So you muster your armies. Oh, so sorry. You select your battle size, which is normal. You determine your attacker and defender, but that actually really matters. Like you could roll it off, but I think it's better to do it if you're doing it as part of a campaign. You're gonna be able to tell who the attacker and defender is just
Oh
by the
yeah,
nature of the narrative.
where
Then you muster
yeah.
you muster your what? What's up?
Oh no, I was just thinking that that's if you, for instance, like the game I've had with Keith, I would have been the defender, and his commandos would have been the attacker. Most of the time, this is in a narrative campaign. You know exactly who the attacker and defender is. So.
Right. Exactly. And there are some missions, and now I know some of you might be thinking, well, not really, not all the time. There are some missions in here that turn it on its head, and we'll talk about that when we come to those missions. Now in the muster armies step, there are some changes for Planet Strike. The attacker can take an outrider detachment as their main detachment for free. So normally you can only do that with a patrol, battalion, or brigade. That you get refunded the CP cost for that detachment if your warlord is in it. Well, in Planet Strike, the attacker can do that with their outrider, and the defender can do that with their spearhead. Not only that, when they do a patrol, they don't have to use a patrol detachment. The attacker can use an outrider, or the defender can use a spearhead if they're doing a game of combat patrol.
See, that's what makes that already completely different than the regular rules. Like fundamentally, right there before
right
you
on
even
list
roll
building.
off.
Yep.
That's that's helpful because depending on, like, for instance. Yeah, we're just doing a whole bunch of examples today. Why not? If we're running my weird orc bike list, I mean, I would want to have outrider detachments.
Yeah, and the beauty this reveals kind of the beauty of the 9th edition list building and narrative setup is because you can have a roster that contains all kinds of units.
Yeah,
and if you want to just say, hey, for this one mission, do you want to use Planet Strike? You can. You're not bound by what, if it were just like, oh, you use the same list every time. Well, then you wouldn't be able to do this. We're having a roster of units. You can play any kind of mission, any kind of list that you want. So, also, the opposing detachment type costs an extra CP. So if you're the attacker, if you want to take a spearhead, it's going to cost you 4 CP. If you're the defender, if you want an outrider, that's going to cost you 4 CP instead of 3.
Yeah.
Also, the defender gets a free fortification network and free fortifications.
That's pretty cool too.
Oh yeah. At patrol, you get 10 power level worth. At what is it? 50 power level, whatever. Whatever. Incursion, yeah. At Incursion, you get 20 power. Strike Force, you get 40. And then at, oh my God, we're taking a lot of models, you get 60 power. Now, that's a lot of free power level, but it's also a lot of power level in fortifications, which are fundamentally not, I mean, they're not great. Also, they factor into the missions, and getting those free fortifications isn't necessarily a 100% boon for you in these missions. Obviously, they crafted this so that it's fair between the attacker and the defender. So you'll see that as we talk about the missions. You can have them in your Crusade roster as normal in your order of battle. But you can also take just rando unaligned fortifications in your army for free. So example, if you're a defender in a Planet Strike game and you already have the Orc Boss Bunka, say, in your roster, so you can add that for free on your army list or in your army list for that game. But then you still have like 6 to 16 whatever free left over. That doesn't have to come from your roster. That can just be random unaligned bastions and Fortress Redemption and stuff. Then you determine your mission. That's normal. Read the mission briefing, normal. And then you select your agendas. So there are new Planet Strike agendas, both for the they're separated by attacker and defender. They're on page 20 of your hymnals. You want to read the one you picked first, Jason?
Yeah, let me grab that real quick. So I picked what did I pick? I picked Death from Above. It was a little more difficult for me to select agendas on here because I just, I haven't ever played Planet Strike, and I was trying to have to like think of how would my Thousand Suns do this.
Well, that's a good way to think. I mean, add context to what you picked. No, that's totally fine.
So I picked what was it for attacker? There we go. Sorry, looking for the page. Death from Above. All right, so keep a Death from Above tally for each unit from your army. During the turn in which one of your units arrived from strategic reserves, you'll go ahead and add to that unit's Death from Above tally each time it destroys an enemy unit. At the end of the phase, add 1 to that unit's Death from Above tally if it failed to destroy any enemy units, but it destroyed 1 or more enemy models during that turn. So it's not... Oh, and each unit gains 1 experience point for every mark on its Death from Above tally, which, that does go through and kind of guarantee that you will be picking up some amount of experience, even though it won't be a whole lot.
Right.
There's still some experiences to be earned there.
Right, and the attacker is going to have a lot of models coming in from strategic.
That too.
So even if they fail the mission, these units are going to gain a lot of experience points.
Yeah.
The attacker agenda I picked was Desperate Last Push. At the end of the battle, for each objective marker on the battlefield you control, you can select 1 unit from your army that is within range of that objective marker, excluding aircraft. That unit gains 1 experience point. If that unit has the objective secured ability, it gains 2 experience points instead. So Death Skulls always get 2 XP. That seems like a lot. In addition, if there are at least 4 objective markers on the battlefield, you control every single objective marker. You gain 1 requisition point. So I think this is neat. Yeah, just XP for holding objectives at the end of the game.
Yeah,
I think it's neat. So for the defender category, so for all of these agendas are about being, for the attacker, are about being aggressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Either aggressive killing things or aggressive taking territory. All right, Jason, what was your defender category?
I picked Defiant to the End.
I love this one.
Yeah. So at the end of the battle, so long as you control at least 1 objective marker, each unit from your enemy or from your army that is on the battlefield, including units that are embarked in transports that are on the battlefield, gain 1 experience point.
That's so cool.
Nice. That's pretty nice.
At first blush, I'm imagining, like, at first when I read that, I'm like, well, wow, that's like a whole bunch of free experience points for a lot of units. And then I thought, wait, how many units are actually going to be alive at the end of the game?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? Like, not a lot, actually, now that I think about it. So yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Here, little Brimstone Horror, we'll go ahead and give you just you that 1 experience.
Right.
Now you've become a what is it? Iridescent horror. So Jason,
good
go
for
paint
you.
one.
There you go. Yeah, right. Coordinate the defense with a C instead of an S. Keep a coordinate the defense tally for each character. Add 1 to the tally if they do the action. The action is coordinate the defense. They can perform it at the end of their command phase if it's within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield. So they have to command the center of the battlefield. And it's completed at the start of your next command phase. So they have to do it for the whole turn. It shouldn't be too hard for a character because they normally can't be targeted. So they're not going to be wiped off. Each time this action is completed, roll a d6 on a 4+, they get 1 command point. So I like these ones that are agendas. They're agendas, but they're also additional special abilities, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
If your tally is 3 or more, earn 3 experience points. If it's 4 or more, you gain 1 requisition point.
That's impressive.
So not only do you get experience, but you get requisition points for doing this. But of course, your character's standing in the middle of the battlefield the entire game going, you go there, you go there.
Screaming out YOLO.
YOLO, yeah. I love that the reason I picked this is because I like how it's breaking the mold of what agendas can do and what they're for. So I thought that was neat. So the other huge difference in Planet Strike is the create the battlefield step. So in the create the battlefield step, the defender sets up almost the entire battlefield. And in many cases they set up the entire battlefield. Some missions, the attacker is allowed to put something on the field, or the defender or the mission tells the defender, oh, by the way, you can't set up terrain in this no man's land or whatever. But for the most part, the defender gets to set up their defenses, which gives them along with the free fortifications, gives them a pretty good advantage there. Also, it says that like Aegis, and I would say other barricades too, can be set up close to other models to kind of create these networks of set up, terrain pieces.
Yeah.
Then you place objective markers, and then you choose your deployment zone. Sometimes it won't say what the attacker's deployment zone is. So in those cases, the defender gets to pick. So like if you're surrounding the defender,
yeah,
the attacker can be like, oh, I'm going to pick this side as my deployment edge or this side as my deployment edge at that point.
Yeah.
And then it tells you how deep your deployment zone is, either like 4 inches, 6 inches, or 10 inches, depending on the size of the gate. The other big difference is in reserves and transports. The attacker can have 75% in reserve or reinforcement. Not only that, the attacker gets to use strategic reserves for free.
Ooh,
so they don't pay CP for strategic reserves.
That's a good idea.
And only a third of the defenders can be placed into reserve or reinforcement. So normally it's 50%, but in this it's now 3/4 for the attacker and a third for the defender.
Wow, that's different. That's huge.
Yeah, because the defender is sit in place. The attacker is coming in fast and furious. So, and also they added a reserve roll in this one. So, on turn 1, the attacker arrives on a 4+. On turn 2, a 3+. Turn 3, a 2+, and then they auto arrive on turn 4. Fast attack, dedicated transport, and flyer units get a +1 on the roll and arrive on turn 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the defender only start arriving on turn 2, and that's a 4+. Turn 3 is a 3+, and then they auto arrive on turn 4 with the same +1 for fast attack, dedicated transports, and flyers.
I remember talking with people who've been playing for a lot longer than I have, and they mentioned this used to be a mechanic in, was it 4th edition or 5th edition?
5th edition. I'm not sure about 6th edition. I don't remember if they changed that or not in 6th.
It was not in 6th edition.
No.
I know that one. No.
Yeah, reserves were only allowed in certain missions, I think, in 5th edition. I don't remember. It's been a long time, but yeah, there was a roll.
Yeah.
But that's in this, and I think it makes a lot of sense for this type of scenario. I like it. You deploy your armies, then you determine the first turn. The attacker always goes first unless the mission says otherwise. I think I only saw 1 or 2 missions in there where the defender got to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the attacker always goes first, so that's good. So not only do they have lots of reserves, and some of the reserves can come in turn 1, but they also get to go first, which helps balance out all of those fortifications. After you do your pre-battle abilities and you begin the battle, we start talking about actually playing the game. So here's another bonus for the attacker, Jason. The attacking units, when they arrive from reserve, any infantry, beasts, and swarms that can, or units that can fly,
Yeah.
they get to deep strike instead of being set up within 6 inches of their battlefield edge.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it's like they snuck in, or they dropped in, or
Yeah.
they're just so fast, or whatever.
I was thinking they'd be like dropped in. Like this would be a great place to have, drop pods. Even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, even so, the defender, even if they have drop pods, they can't come in turn 1. Only the attacker's allowed to do that.
Okay.
Which is really cool. So again,
that does make sense, though. Yeah.
Again, still trying to balance out all the severely entrenched defensive position the defender has. Furthermore, we have firestorms. So on turn 1, the attacker gets to launch a number of firestorm attacks. So it's kind of based on how many fortifications the defender has. And they get to place 6 tokens. We've seen this one before, where you place 6 tokens on the battlefield and they're all numbered, and you roll a dice to determine where the bombardment happens. So they give you some discretion on how to handle them with blind deployment markers too. Mm-hmm. So if you have ambush markers like with Genestealer cults, it's fun. And also, in case you're using blind deployment, I think there was an article about doing that in a recent White Dwarf, or I think maybe in one of the campaign books from the last campaign, like telling us how to do blind deployment and blind movement. All you do is put the number of mortal wounds that it does on a dice and put it on the marker. And then when they're revealed, then you resolve the mortal wounds then.
Okay.
Very simple way to do that. Then there's another one called Planetary Control. So at the start of turn 1, the defender is considered to be controlling all of the objectives.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yes, and then as the game progresses, throughout for all of these missions, the player continues to control the objectives even if they move off them, or until another player takes them. So you could actually kind of set up all your objectives in the middle and put all of your models like on the very edge of your deployment zone. And even if they don't have anybody near them, you're considered holding them right off the bat for the defender.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some things that like start off turn 1, like target a objective and do mortal wounds. Well, if you're the defender, you don't care because you're not going to deploy next to the objective if that's going to happen, because you don't need to. You don't need to hold that objective because you already hold it.
Yeah. That is kind of nice, though. That does cut back on, or that does change your strategy.
It does. And it does. And it really forces the attacker to get in there and get stuck in and try to start taking them away from you. Yeah. Again, it's all this like balance counterbalance thing, right? They balance it in favor of the the defender with all these defenses, and then the attacker gets to like, go into reserve and move up and deep strike and go fast and gets to go first. But then the defender also gets to automatically have control of their objectives right off the bat. Then we also have new stratagems. We have ones for the attacker and the defender. Page 17 and 18 of your hymnals. Jason, would you like to tell us the attacker stratagem you wanted to talk about?
So I picked Laser Burn for 2 CP. And still, I always love these text descriptions. In the still of the void above, crosshairs fall upon the image of a doomed stronghold. Without warning, a pillar of searing ruby light flashes downwards and carves a great scar across the planet's surface. Isn't that lovely?
That is lovely.
Yeah.
It's like episode 1 of season 2 of Star Trek Enterprise.
Hold on,
Never
I'm
mind.
trying to remember Enterprise.
Florida gets lanced from above and nobody cared. I mean, everybody cared. Sorry, Florida. Anyways,
All right,
laser
so
burn.
use the stratagem in your command phase. Place 3 firestorm markers or dice, numbered 1 to 3, anywhere on the battlefield, such that all 3 are within 12 inches of each other. At the start of your next command phase, roll 2d3s. Roll again if a double is rolled until 2 different results are rolled. Draw a straight imaginary line between the 2 corresponding firestorm markers, and then roll 1d6 for each unit the line crosses over. Adding 1 to the result if the unit is a building. On a 2 to 5, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 6 up, it suffers d3 plus 3 mortal wounds instead.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like that. That's kind of the old. It's orbital bombardment.
But it's an actual lance shot. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do it. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's really cool. I mean, I was reading through trying to figure out which one do I like, and it's like, yeah, that's it. Although there's another one I did like quite a bit. So, what about you, Adam? What'd you get?
I picked Dark in the Skies. It's like an old night fight rule. It's
Okay.
cool. 2 CP or 3 CP. Whether by taking advantage of an eclipse, blotting out the sun with the bulk of a vast spaceship, or inducing darkness with even more esoteric means, the attackers bring the Shroud of Night to the battlefield for a few vital moments. So you can simulate dawn or dusk or whatever they just said. Use this stratagem at the start of the battle round until the end of the battle round. Each time a ranged attack is made against a target unit that is more than 12 inches away, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. You can only use this stratagem twice during the battle. If it is the first time you are using the stratagem during the battle, it costs 2, otherwise it costs 3.
Oh, okay.
Which is great for the attacker, especially if you've decided to go with like a long ways type deployment or whatever.
Yeah.
You might want that -1 to hit on your guys. All right, you want to do the defender stratagem you picked?
Yeah, I picked targeting jammers. Where'd it go? There's actually a couple when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to pick. So these are actually kind of cool.
It's fine, yeah.
The defender has deployed powerful gemming emitters that scramble orbital targeting sensors, throwing the invaders' bombardments off. So use the stratagem at the start of the first battle round after the attackers set their firestorm markers, but before they launch the firestorm. If you spent 1 CP, you can select one of the markers. If you spent 3 CP, you can select 2 of the markers. You can move each of the firestorm markers you selected by up to 2d6 in any direction, rolling separately for each marker. The markers cannot be moved off the battlefield. So that gives you a chance to kind of maybe save yourself from the one I chose before.
And funny story, a lot of these deployment zones are really close to each other. So if your opponent has put them really like in a very thick area where you have a lot of models that are really close to your deployment edge, it's possible you could actually move a firestorm marker on top of your opponent's deployment zone. And they could end up accidentally nuking themselves like Phil.
Yeah, I was going to call it the Phil special.
Yeah, that's the Phil maneuver. It's really cool. I picked Drop Zone Denial. Drop Zone Denial is either 2 or 3 CP. You select one battlefield edge that is not the attacker's battlefield edge. Until the end of that battle round, none of the attacker's strategic reserves can be set up within 6 inches of that battlefield edge.
Whoa! Okay.
Yeah, so you force them to use one side of the battlefield. And it's 2 CP the first time you use it and 3 CP the second time you use it. You can kind of use this as to thwart a false flank. So if they're coming over to one side and they're trying to push you out, you can kind of shove yourself over to that side. Or conversely, you can like anti-force flank them. Like you can force them into your flank, which I've never heard of before. I don't know if there's a fancy term for that, but you can like move all your models towards that side of the battlefield and force them to come in on the other side. And don't forget, it's a roll to come in. So, you know, it's really interesting how you can manipulate things with that stratagem.
Yeah, you could do all sorts of, you know, crazy stuff with that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's really all the generic ways that these games are different. But don't forget, a lot of these generic rules really affect the game. Even if there were no special missions in this book, those generic rules would change a lot. Like this is a very comprehensive. There's a lot of things that are different about Planet Strike games. So then we also, before we move on to the missions, let's talk really quickly about, there are battle traits in here. And we each picked one. Yeah. Do you want to do yours?
So
the attacker one.
Yeah, it's attackers first. So I picked up Fortress Destroyer. It's an easy one. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack against a building unit, re-roll a wound roll of 1. So it's you know, that's not too difficult. I realize it's probably the least complex,
it highlights the fact that these battle traits are geared towards the type of mission that you're playing. So, or the type of campaign you're playing in. Maybe normally, you know, for a generic campaign, you wouldn't think that that's a very good ability, but in Planet Strike, you're going to need that to get an advantage. I picked Strategic Attacker. If you're the attacker, then at the start of your first command phase, roll a d6 for each unit in your Crusade army that has this trait. If one or more results are 4+, you gain 1 command point.
Ooh.
So you're kind of like, oh, I want to just add Strategic Attacker to a bunch of these guys.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like having, it's like your regular infantry people are helping you plan your attack.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your brain trust. If you're playing a Planet Strike battle, then once per battle, when you use a Planet Strike attacker stratagem, it costs 1 fewer CP to use for each unit in your Crusade army with this trait. It can only be reduced by 1 CP for that use of the stratagem. Any future usages cost the normal amount.
Okay.
It's a minimum of 0 CP, so
yeah,
you can't regain CP by spending this. All right, what did you pick for? Right, what did you pick for your Planet Strike Defender?
I chose Protector of Worlds. Yeah, well, you'll kind of see why. So while this unit is wholly within its own deployment zone, it has the objective secured ability. So I think for Defender, that's probably pretty good, especially if you have some sort of unit
like
that
heavy support.
Yeah, I was thinking heavy support, something like that. It's a chance for them to grab that objective and not move.
A squadron of hellhounds with objectives secured and like 6 flamer weapons. Yeah, I dare you to charge me. I dare you.
Come at me, bro. So, while this unit is receiving the benefits of cover, enemy models cannot use rules that would allow their ranged attacks to ignore the benefits of cover against the unit.
Nice.
So they get to stay in cover, which is, I think, pretty good.
That's cool.
That'll keep those dirty Tau from getting in there.
The one I picked is Counterfire Masters. I think this one's super neat. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, if the target of that attack arrived from strategic reserves during this battle, add 1 to the attacker's attack's hit roll. So if you came in from reserve this turn, I could shoot you and get a +1 to hit. Yeah. I saw you coming. How dare you? How dare you? Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as my choice, and I saw that you picked it. I'm like, oh, good, so I don't have to pick it. All right. Okay. Now, tree
Uh,
campaigns. Talk to me about the tree campaigns because I haven't had a chance to really look at them
so
yet.
it's a way to set up phases of a campaign or just short 3-game campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
and you set up the tree ahead of time. So if you have the first mission, which you set up for a certain narrative, and then the second mission, there'll be a specific one chosen for if the attacker wins, and a specific one chosen if the defender wins.
Oh, cool.
And then each of those goes back to each of those has a tree that goes off for attacker defender winning.
Yeah.
Until you but you set it up ahead of time so that there's transparency, and there's also the victor bonus, which they talked about in Warzone Octarius Book 1.
Oh, okay.
And you can come up with some of your own or whatever, but it's a really neat way of kind of having some structure, but not too much structure, which is
Right.
nice. And they have some example ones in here for Planet Strike campaigns, but don't forget, you're welcome to do. So you might do a whole campaign on a planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it might be, you might want to do, you set it up ahead of time, so maybe it's 3 phases long, right? Maybe only the first phase is a Planet Strike phase.
Mm-hmm.
You'll do 3 Planet Strike games, then move on and do 3 regular narrative games.
Right.
And and then after that, maybe you'll go in and do a few of the multiplayer games as things heat up and get crazy, or just sprinkle stuff in.
Yeah.
It's good to just keep all these missions in your mind. I've been meaning to go ahead and redo my narrative mission matrix, like memory spreadsheet, but
Oh, yeah.
Who has the time?
Yeah. Well, these new campaign books, these new narrative Crusade books, are just kind of blowing that all over the place. Just
Yeah, there's a lot
so
going
much
on.
Stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So the missions. So the first few missions, I've gone into detail about, but then after that, we just have a summary.
Yeah.
I kind of want you guys to see how they're laid out and what the specifics are for a few of them, and then you can kind of guess after that, and we'll just tell you about kind of the generic feel of the missions after that. So
we saw that in Beyond the Veil and Contagion, where they would take like a combat patrol mission and then they would just upscale it, modify things slightly. And I'm assuming they're doing the same thing here.
They are.
Okay,
they are.
Good. All right.
So the first one is in Combat Patrol's Vanguard Operations. So it's a small force that's been dispatched prior to the invasion in order to disable a comms relay before the alarm can be raised.
Ooh.
So there's a cool raise the alarm component to this.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 objectives, and the defender can raise the alarm. They perform it on an objective marker, and it's completed at the start of your next command phase. So it gives the attacker a chance to shut them up before the alarm is raised, which is good because the defender gets 15 VP if the raise alarm was performed 3 times.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah, you need to shut that down pretty quick. The Victor bonus was interesting for this one because you get a Planet Strike battle trait for it. So you specifically get a Planet Strike reward for this mission.
Oh.
There's more like that. One thing you'll notice here in this campaign, or in these missions, is there is a progressive scoring element to almost all of them. And most of them are 5 points for holding 1 objective, 5 points for holding 2 objectives, or 5 points for holding a stronghold.
Yeah.
And note that all of the progressive scoring in this mission pack is at the start of your command phase, not the end of your turn. because
Oh yeah.
yeah, you need to be holding it at the start of your turn, not the end of your turn. So you have to sit on it for a whole turn and survive,
That
your
does
opponent
change some
attack.
things.
It does.
I
It
like that
does.
quite a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, it's how the matched play missions are, and I think
Yeah.
it makes sense for Planet Strike to be that way too,
Yeah.
especially for the defender. Now later on with the big missions, with the longer mission, like the like 2,000 point missions or the 100 power level missions or higher,
Hmm.
the defender actually has to hold more objectives than the attacker does to score those progressives,
Okay.
because it's just too easy for the defender to hold objectives. So I think it goes up to they have to be holding 2 objectives in order to score anything, and
Hmm.
they have to be holding more objectives than their opponent to score the next 5 points. Where the attacker still only has to hold 1 or hold 2 to score those points. But again, that's just balancing out the how easy it is to hold those. I think that's a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Next mission is Drop and Demolish. A small force has been dispatched prior to the invasion to take out a command center for the planet's anti-orbital guns. So this one is a vital outpost type mission. There's a few of these in the book. So they put one objective in the middle, which is probably going to be a building. And like if you put an objective in a building, the whole building becomes the objective.
Hmm.
Um, and that becomes, I don't think I talked about, I think maybe I missed this part in when we were talking about it. When you put an objective in a building, it becomes uh, it becomes a stronghold. So the whole thing is an objective, and your opponent can run in and they can garrison, they can hold the stronghold, or you can hold this. You can kind of fight over these. And there's certain things for holding strongholds throughout some of these missions. You get more points for holding them, or you get more points for destroying them.
Okay.
So that vital outpost in this game gets a 4+ to ignore mortal wounds, but you get 15 points for holding the objective throughout the game, and then the defender gets 30 points for controlling the outpost at the end of the game. The attacker gets 30 VP if it's destroyed, but they get 15 if they besiege it, which is if they're holding it. The victor bonus, there's generic victor bonuses in these too. Like in this
Right.
one, it's just two marked for greatness instead of 1.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an easy mission. I think this is an easy one that, if you don't play a lot, or if you're new to playing, having one building in the center of the battlefield that you fight over is a really good entry level type game.
That
I
is
think.
true. That's very true. Yeah.
So the next one is called Evac Under Fire. It's a relic mission. There's a semicircle on one end of the battlefield.
Yeah.
And then the defender gets the rest of that area, and a 12-inch semicircle on the other side of the defender's battlefield, and that's the evac zone. And basically the defender tries to trundle off the battlefield into the evac zone with their objective marker.
Yeah, that one's fun. I remember
It is.
looking at the maps, and I saw that one and wondered, what was going on there, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually really quite cool. I think it's a lot better version of the relic, to be honest.
It is, and it's also nice. They added a -1 for the attacker to have on their reserve rolls in this one. I think because trying to trundle across the battlefield with that relic is a pain in the butt.
Yes.
Also, throughout this book, you'll notice picking up the relic is an action you have to perform.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's tough. So next in the incursion missions, Planetary Assault is exactly the same as Vanguard operations, except it's 3 objectives.
Yeah.
I'm kind of skimming over all the duplicates unless it's like there's a whatever the difference is.
Oh yeah, of course.
Rack and Ruin is a full-scale assault battle, but there's a focus on destroying strongholds.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more of those going forward. They can either normally there's an objective marker if a building is destroyed, like a stronghold is destroyed, the objective marker kind of pops out of it.
Mm-hmm.
In this mission, it doesn't. And not only that, if the objective marker if there isn't a stronghold, if like the players just didn't feel like dealing with buildings, there's an action for destroying objectives. And as you might guess, all the victory points are based on either surviving or objective markers or destroyed objective markers. So it's all about blowing stuff up, which is nice.
Yeah.
Vital Strong Point is kind of like the mission from before, like the Drop and Demolish one, where you're defending your castle, except half the defender's units are in strategic reserves. So the defensive position is lightly garrisoned,
Mm-hmm.
and which is why the attackers are going after it right now. And so the defenders coming in piecemeal to help repel the attack. Then the next one is the Lure. The defenders ambush the attackers with reserves and booby traps. So this one is really interesting. I like this one.
Mm-hmm.
So the defenders get this huge area on a long table edge. It's kind of like normal Dawn of War style deployment, except their deployment zone is much deeper.
Oh yeah, it's a lot bigger.
And there's a bunch of objective markers. And this one, the defender actually decides who goes first. And then half the defender's forces are in strategic reserve, and it costs them nothing, and they get +1 on their reserve roll. So this is one of those where, yes, they're the defender from a thematic perspective, like this is their territory, but it's actually a attack because they are intentionally leave. It's kind of like the last mission, or was it the last mission? Yeah. It's kind of like the last mission where they have a very light garrison and they're being attacked by the attacker because they see fresh meat or they see easy kill, but in reality they were bait. And it's pretty cool. There's also some hidden explosives which are scattered across the battlefield, which is a lot of fun.
That is kind of fun.
Yeah, I think that's a neat one. That'd be a fun one to play, I think, and that's great. Like these kind of things set up really clear narratives. It's not just narrative play isn't just, oh, how many orbital bombardments do you get? Like, no, there's nuance. I thought that mission had some great nuance. The next one is Staging Post. So this is also repeated later. And I think that this is a really important one. And again, turns the idea of attacker-defender on its head. So the battlefield is the attacker gets a 12-inch semicircle on one of the short battlefield edges. The defender doesn't put any terrain in there. The defender gets their whole thing. Like their whole battlefield, but the attacker actually gets a fortification network to set up inside their deployment zone because they've stolen. That's their beachhead that they've stolen from the defender.
Right.
So in this one, they actually also get 10 power level worth of units.
Yeah, this would be a good one to have played with Keith for this narrative we're doing.
Oh yeah, you should definitely do this one because this is all about the defender taking back territory that the attacker has taken.
Yeah.
So in essence, the defender is kind of the attacker in this one because they're trying to push out the attacker from some fortifications that they've stolen.
And this looks like it's a incursion mission that's 50 power levels, so it's not a huge list either. Okay.
No. And again, I think there's one of these at both of the next higher levels as well.
Okay.
So you can do these really big, that one really big if you want. Surgical Strike is a Slay the Warlord. The rule. This could get weird if you're doing those bombardments in the beginning, so the Defender's Warlord doesn't get set up until after the Firestorm because they have a personal stasis shelter. But
One of my favorite. That's one of my favorite things to do. Hey, where's your warlord? Cool.
Yeah,
Horrible bombardment on that guy.
yeah. And also, they can't embark on a transport. They can only get in the stronghold because they're there to oversee the defenses. So it's really interesting. So next is the Strike Force missions. Planetfall is basically full-scale invasion. Stranglehold is slightly different. The attacker is trying to take the defender's positions, and it's kind of like the lure where you have booby traps, but instead the defender is scoring 1 VP per power level killed in the attacker's army. So you're actually the defender is actually scoring for killing the enemy. There are more objective markers, but instead of buried explosives, the defender can just detonate their strongholds, which is hilarious. They don't have the choose to go first in this one, but they do pass all their morale tests. But I love the fact that they can just YOLO nuke their own strongholds. Strongholds do a lot of damage when they explode too. Like they don't. It's not like roll it. It's your stronghold's destroyed. Roll a dice on a 6. It detonates. No, it auto detonates, which is crazy. Oof. Next is Forlorn Hope. It's a plant the banner mission.
Yeah.
With a action to raise the banner. Planet Quake. It's kind of an assault mission like the regular assault missions we've been talking about, where it's just guys attacking entrenched positions. But it's much more interesting because it's all about the collateral damage. So after the attacker performs their firestorm, you leave objective markers 1 through 3 on the battlefield.
Right.
And they stay in play for the rest of the game. So every turn you're doing mortal wounds next to those firestorm markers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think that that's a great one for when you if you're playing this mission, the defender's actually definitely going to use the scramble communications, the one that you chose.
Yeah.
To move one of those markers towards the opponent and say, I dare you to cross over here, or move it in like a really easy ingress point to your fortifications. So like if they're going to go through that choke point, they're going to risk taking damage.
Yeah, that would be a good way to use that. Yeah. I was thinking also this could be used slightly reskinned to create some sort of environmental effects.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like there's a great that goes into the next part is tectonic upheaval. You roll at the starting on turn 3. Yeah, 3. It's possible the buildings start taking damage and collapsing from all that mess.
Yeah.
And there's a D6 table. On a 6, the building's destroyed. On a 5, it's D6 plus 3 mortals. On a 4, it's D3 plus 3. And on a 3, it's just D3. And on a 1 or a 2, it doesn't take any damage. So like buildings start taking damage and everybody's getting fired on. It's great. It's great.
Boom, boom, boom.
The onslaught missions, I didn't even put in a lot of the ones that are repeated.
Yeah.
But Hammer and Anvil is interesting. The strange deployment zone in this one is the main feature of the mission that sets it apart. It's got a no man's like the attacker actually is deployed in the center.
Yeah.
With the attacker on the defender on either side of them. So like they were forced to drop in because it's so densely packed with the enemy. They were forced to drop in where they could,
Yeah.
and they're not allowed to arrive from strategic reserves in the defender's deployment zone either. So they're kind of stuck arriving from reserve in the middle. Yeah, it's a really interesting.
Almost like they're dropping in on a beacon, but the beacon's only in one very specific area.
Yeah, otherwise they would like mishap into buildings and like Terminators appear in solid rock, which nobody wants that. Least of all the rock. War on All Fronts is another vital strongpoint mission, except that it features a recycling mechanic for destroyed units.
Okay.
Because it's the one where, you know, everybody's going to be coming in, bringing extra units for support on both sides. Storm of Fire is like Planet Quake, except all 6 firestorm markers remain on the battlefield throughout the entire game.
Oh,
yeah,
that could be rough.
Yeah, and power level killed is the main feature of the victory conditions here. So it's just like everything die. This is beautiful. Everything die. I wouldn't hate playing that. It's very simple, but I wouldn't mind just playing a game where just stuff dying is the main feature.
Yeah.
All right, death and destruction. Death and destruction. We're trying to contain the death and destruction in the first section of the Crusade mission packs, but unfortunately, what we have coming up after break is Catastrophe.
Come here, boy. Get the ball. Come on, Max. Get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him his Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh, boy. I'd better feed Max his Zotabix.
Yes, you had.
Zotabix is made in part from grade A
Max,
Astra Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert depths. Zotabix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows, where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
So, in Catastrophe, we have a Treachery and Honor mission pack, which, again, is a totally different way to play that people have been asking for. Specifically, our game group has really been interested in this. I know the guys... our Queensberry friends really love playing multiplayer games.
Yeah.
And I think they're a lot of fun. I think you like them too.
Yeah, I find them to be... They're a lot of fun, especially, if it's with people that, you know really well. All sorts of goofiness happens then.
And the interesting thing here is they're actively encouraging the players to have alliances and backstabbing like not just in the game, but between each other.
Yeah.
There are actual mechanics for stabbing your alliances in the back during the missions.
I was wondering about that, as I was reading our show notes and thinking treachery and honor missions. What?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's get started. They're all designed for 4 players, but they have a 3-player option. Keep that in mind, that the 3-player version might not be quite as balanced as the 4-player. I think a lot of it comes down to, if it's unlikely that 3 people are just always going to gang up on one person.
Yeah.
But it's very possible for 2 people to gang up on one. It's a lot more fun with 4 players, I would say.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Unless you go through and set up your armies so that 2 of the players are definitely
right.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's just a 2 versus 1 thing, which we used to do at the game store a lot when we'd have an odd number, just to make sure everybody gets a game in.
Right.
This is definitely a PvP situation. So battle size, no different. Muster armies. So the CP is different for each size in this one. You get a little bit more. Less.
Yeah,
more.
like it.
You get more. It's 4 for combat patrol, 6 for incursion, 14 for strike force, and 20 for, oh my god, that's a lot of models. Then when you select agendas, we have new treachery and honor agendas. Jason, what is the treacherous agenda you chose?
Let's see. I picked up Hunters of the Righteous.
Uh-huh.
Let me bring that over here. Those who would hold themselves up as some kind of paragon of virtue must be taught the folly of such hubris. Show them that the subtle blade is the most deadly. Sexy.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you can select this agenda if your army contains a treacherous warlord unit. Keep a Hunters of the Righteous tally for each treacherous unit from your army. And each time a treacherous unit from your army destroys an enemy unit, add 1 to that unit's Hunter of the Righteous tally. If the destroyed unit was an honorable unit, add 2 to that unit's Hunters of the Righteous tally instead. And at the end of the battle, each unit gains 1 experience point for every 2 marks on its Hunters of the Righteous tally. Yeah.
That's cool. And I love that, like, as we play these narrative games, you're going to have all kinds of weird keywords all over your record sheets.
Oh, yeah.
And you never know, you might go to a narrative event where you brought your guys and they've been going on for some time, and your opponent says, hey, do you have any honorable models in your army? And you can say, I have a few. And he could, well, I guess I'll take this agenda because I have a bunch of treacherous models in my army.
Yes, I have lots of them.
Right? So the honorable agenda I picked was Paragons of Virtue. The rewards of trustworthiness are there for all to see. Keep your word and reap the benefits. Keep a Paragon's tally for your army. At the end of your turn, if every ranged attack made by units from your army this turn was made against units from an army of the opponent or opponents with the highest number of victory points, add 1 to your Paragon tally. At the end of the battle, if your Paragon tally is 3 or more, you can select 1 unit from your army to gain the honorable keyword. And then each honorable unit from your army gains 2 experience points. So that's pretty cool. You're just shooting up the people who are winning, which is great. I love that. Now, I wanted to use this one as an opportunity to explain how crazy these 4-player games can get. They can get pretty crazy trying to figure out, okay, who has how much command points, who has, later on we'll talk about underdog points, who has all these tallies and marks, and who has the most VP right now. You're going to have to keep track of all of that. So when you're talking about a 4-player game, I might keep track of all this stuff. I might keep track of all this stuff with a scoreboard. So maybe a wet or dry erase board with each player's name on it in order, in their turn order. Keep that up, and then each turn, like, put their VPs up on it, put their CPs up on it. It'll help everybody if you do that.
Yeah.
It's just something to keep in mind.
I've been playing a few, what was it? I was playing a couple of 3-player games recently where I was taking, like, whenever I played my Thousand Suns last in 40K, where it was like half Thousand Suns, half Death Guard versus Eldar. And this would have really kind of helped with what we were doing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It helps to have that scorecard if you've got a few people playing all at once.
Yeah.
So then we have in the create the battlefield step, it's important to note that the Treachery and Honor games use the bigger battlefield sizes.
Oh yeah,
so
they have to.
They start off at 44 by 60, and then 44 by 90, then 66 by 90.
Ooh.
Just because you have so many players on the battlefield.
Yeah, translation. You need to have more. You have to have more tables.
You need more real estate.
Yeah.
Then in determined turn order, you secretly bid CP to determine how many dice you roll. So, like, you put a dice under your hand and you hold it. And then when you reveal it, that's how many dice you get to roll, up to 3 extra dice. You subtract that many CP from your starting CP, and then you roll 1 plus the number of CP you expended to determine who goes first.
Yeah.
And then you go from highest low. So if now it's not add them all together, it's just the dice roll. So even if you expend like 3 CP, you could roll 4 ones still.
Yeah, that's very true.
Which would be 1. Then you choose deployment zone in turn order. A lot of stuff gets done in turn order now.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. Nothing really is different until we get to playing the battle. So at the start of the battle round, you go to the alliance step. That's where you wheel and deal and discuss temporary alliances. You can barter with Crusade and in-game resources. So if you have like a requisition point, you can say, I am going to give you a requisition point if you do this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that you can't like wheel and deal later. So that's why there's a phase. You can't just say, I'll give you a requisition point if you do something else, right? Like that's not in the nature of the game. But during this first start of the battle round, you can start doing that kind of thing. Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, it's great. Like you say to an orc player, hey, if you screen my army with your Gretchen, I'll give you a requisition point. Orc player, yes, I will take a requisition point. I will sacrifice these Gretchen for a requisition point. You bet I will.
But it took me weeks to paint all these Gretchen. Yeah.
Then you generate underdog points. The player taking the last turn gets an underdog point.
Yeah.
On turns 2, on future turns, the player with the fewest victory points gets an underdog point.
Yeah.
If you're tied, everybody who's tied gets one. The player who's got the highest amount of destroyed power level gets an underdog point. So again, that's another thing I would maybe keep track of on your scoreboard.
Yeah.
Because then you're sitting there calculating that every time. So it's probably best to keep track of that on a scoreboard. Then they spend their underdog points in turn order. And they can be retained for later. So you don't have to spend your underdog points yet. You can also talk it talks about this in the book. You can talk amongst yourselves to determine maybe someone's getting so super hosed that they
Yeah.
deserve maybe a few more underdog points, which is it's a good idea. It's something to think about.
Right.
If someone might not be
definitely.
having a great time.
Yeah.
So the underdog bonuses, I was gonna have us pick one, but
Mhm.
there's a few in here. Do you have this open in your Funkin'
Let me
Wagnalls?
see.
Or I was gonna just read them all because they're really simple.
You'll need to read them because I don't think I have.
You don't have the screenshot.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I do. I have them. We can go ahead and
Because
switch off.
my throat's getting dry. Do you think you could read them all?
Yeah, let me
while
go
I get
ahead.
some
So
water?
let me do underdog bonuses while Adam rehydrates with.
Yeah.
Is it water or is that
Yeah,
vodka?
It's actually water.
Oh, okay. It's
I
not
know
flammable. Okay,
I'm a
just-
disappointment.
Just checking. Just want to make sure. All right, so underdog. So we've got command boon, and I guess is that 1 CP?
One underdog point.
Okay, one underdog point. So command boon. In their next command phase, this player gains 1 additional command point for the Battleforge CP bonus. This underdog bonus can be selected multiple times. Oh, okay, that's actually pretty nice. Smoke canisters. Until the end of the battle round, each time a ranged attack is made against a unit from this player's army, that unit is treated as having the benefits of light cover against that attack. Hey, that's okay. Dig in. Until the end of the battle round, each time a melee attack is made against a unit from this player's army, that unit is treated as having the benefits of heavy cover against that attack. Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's in melee. Okay, versus ranged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Defiant Speech. Until the start of this player's next turn, each time a combat attrition test is taken for a unit from this player's army, it is automatically passed. Oh, nice. That would be really cool for, a nice little narrative thing if you were running a guard
Like a
army or
guard
Sisters
army,
of Battle.
yeah.
Command Network Boost. Until the next alliance step, add 3 inches to the range of the aura abilities on units from this player's army to a maximum of 12 inches.
That's cool. If you're getting hosed and you need to overextend yourself in order to complete tasks,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Battling Against the Odds. Wasn't that a Phil Collins tune? Sorry.
I have no idea.
There's someone right now who just groaned, and I feel better. Okay. Battling Against the Odds. If a unit from this player's army gains any marks on a tally for an agenda, this battle round, that unit gains 1 additional mark. Hey,
That's fun.
That
ties it in.
is.
It ties it into the agendas. Like, okay, I'm not going to win the mission. I feel like I'm not going to win this mission. I might as well get something for playing this game.
And this next one's really interesting in that everything has cost 1 underdog point. This one costs 3, so you'll have to kind of sit on those underdogs. During the update experience points step of this battle, this player can nominate 1 additional unit to be marked for greatness. So
That's pretty cool. That's really helpful. Again, I'm not going to win, but at least this person learned from this terrible experience.
Hey, I love the mark from greatness agenda.
Yeah,
it seems to be my favorite.
Yeah, by the way, your neighbor's dog is very upset.
Oh, you can hear that?
Oh yeah, the entire episode.
Oh,
okay. They're very upset. Well, there's nothing for it. I mean, you know, sometimes dogs are upset. Sometimes the Chihuahua needs to.
Oh no, I'm sure they probably took off and left her outside.
Oh, cool.
So
every polecat, every porcupine, and every armadillo and every possum that walks by is a major threat to their lives.
Yeah, and me whenever I walk out into my backyard, I'm obviously a grave threat.
Oh, you are a grave threat. Well, every time Randy, my backyard neighbor, walks out to check on his pool, Sonny bays at him. Doesn't just bark, he bays like the gosh darn hounds of the Baskervilles. He's like, he does. He's all, brrr! I'm like, Sonny, no, stop. Sonny's looking at me like, how dare you? Only we can use that word. Um, okay, so I love that Treachery Honor does need balancing. Like 4-player games definitely need a balancing act
Yes.
for their thing. I think there's also missed it. I meant to write it down.
Well, we've got the stratagems, and we've
No,
got the battle
yeah,
traits.
I think it might have been a stratagem. I'm sorry, listeners, I can't remember what it was, but I think that there was a way to change your position in the go first, the determined turn order. I think it might be a stratagem. I'll try to look it up later, but next
that would be a good thing, because I think being the last in line every turn would probably feel pretty brutal after a bit.
Right. And I think, in Age of Sigmar, it's a simple matter of the roll off every single turn. We don't have that in 40K for various very good reasons. But yeah, let's talk about the stratagems. Jason, you want to do the treacherous one?
All right, so I grabbed subtle undermining. Rumors and hearsay are superb for undermining the authority of one's rivals. How can they command their forces if their forces don't trust them completely? So, use the stratagem at the start of an opponent's turn. Select one character unit from that player's army that is within 12 inches of a treacherous unit from your army. Until the end of the turn, or abilities that character units have, or that a unit have a... Man,
What?
my English is terrible. So, or abilities of that character are then changed to a range of 1 inch.
Oh, neat.
This cannot be modified.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a really nice lieutenant there. Too bad if he can't go through and let anyone re-roll hits.
That's really fun.
Yeah, I got a good laugh out of that one. It was funny. I appreciated that one.
The one I picked for honorable was Enemy of My Enemy. I thought this one was cool as hell. 1 CP. It is reassuring for our forces to know that they can count on our forces. What? We did the same thing. It is reassuring for our allies to know that they can count on our forces to help them out in the most dire of circumstances. Use this stratagem when a unit from an opponent's army declares a charge against a unit from another opponent's army. Select one honorable unit from your army that is within 6 inches of the target of that charge. This unit can fire Overwatch on the charging unit as if it were also a target of the charge. So, like, you can basically supporting fire for one of your opponents.
Yeah.
Which is super neat. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is. That looks like a lot of fun.
It's specifically for a Treachery and Honor game, but who cares? It's fun.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how some of these are just, turned into really fun little extras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. And it's also, it's an honorable stratagem, but if I'm being perfectly honest, that's a pretty treacherous thing to do anyways.
Yeah.
Like meta, that's a pretty treacherous thing to do. All right. So fun. There are also battle traits.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to read your treacherous battle trait, Jason?
So I picked up Aura of Mistrust.
Oh.
Their reputation preceding them, these warriors undermine morale in all who witness them, whether through acts of betrayal or their mere presence nearby. This unit has the following ability. Aura of Mistrust, Aura. While an enemy unit is within 3 inches of this unit, subtract 2 from the leadership characteristics of models in that unit. So, hello, combat attrition tests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be really nice if you have some sort of I was gonna say typhus, essentially.
That's a really good aura. I love that. Wow.
There's some real interesting things you could do with that, especially with the I guess it's gonna be taken with a character, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's any sort of honorable or treacherous unit. So yeah.
I would put that on a unit of 30 Gretchen and jump them forward.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Like, they're so scary. Not in the knees, not in the knees. Like they
That'd
jump
be
over,
really
right?
cool. That
They
would
run
actually be a
over-
really cool narrative. Like you have a unit of Gretchen that becomes like known, and they're
Yeah. I would do this against Phil. I would
Oh,
send
yeah.
the unit of 30 terrifying Gretchen at Phil, and he'd be like, "Oh my god!" And it's just all 30 Gretchen stare at you and in unison say, "Your hair smells nice."
See, that's
But like because they're 2.5 feet tall, when they say your hair feels nice, it smells nice. It's super creepy.
oh, yeah, yeah, definitely.
All right.
That's where those use those monopose Gretchen. Those were perfect.
Yeah. So the honorable trait I picked was coordinated fire. Wait. Yeah. Coordinated firepower. Up to finding a natural affinity with their allies, these warriors instinctively provide supporting fire to achieve common goals. So up to twice per battle, each time an enemy unit is destroyed by an attack made by a unit from an opponent's army, if the destroyed unit had lost at least 5 wounds as a result of attacks made by models in this unit during the battle, add 1 to the unit's combat tally as if it had also destroyed the unit. So if you help someone destroy an enemy, this is another one where it really only works. It actually definitely only works in treachery and honor battles.
Yeah.
But if an enemy unit is destroyed by both of you, you get it's like as if you alone destroyed it for points wise. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Okay. Now missions. The missions in here are a lot more simply laid out because there's 4 people playing these games and you don't want them to be too complicated.
Even what is it? I guess if you put these things, even the combat patrol is still running, a lot
4
of
people.
models.
Yeah, it's still a lot of models, still on a big battlefield, so it's something to think about.
Yeah.
So again, for the first few, I went into detail about what each thing does.
Yeah.
Like all the deployment, the rules, the objectives, etc., the victor bonus. But then later on, we'll just briefly summarize each one.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the first one, it's called Test the Defenses. It's a simple assault mission. There's rectangular deployment zones in each of the 4 corners, and there's an objective in each corner as well, and also one in the center.
Mm-hmm.
For this one, you'll maintain control of your objectives as you move off of them. The progressive objectives are control 1, control an opponent's objective, and control more than anyone else.
Okay.
So note that in treachery and honor missions, all the progressive scoring is at the end of the player's turn. So opposite from Planet Strike. Planet Strike, it's at the start of your turn you score. In treachery and honor, it's the end of your turn, because it's a lot harder to score with so many players and so many units going at you at once.
Right.
It would be really hard to score progressive objectives if you had to hold on to it for a whole turn.
Yeah, that's very true.
So you still can't score these in turn 1 though, so it's not like you go rushing at it and you automatically start scoring. For this one, victor bonuses is 2 marked for greenness instead of 1. That's a very generic one. I would, I'd suggest that for starting off, but
yeah,
if you're an advanced player or if you're an advanced play group, I'd just ignore that one completely, because there's so much cooler ones in here that one seems very, very banal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think some of these might be, I'm sure that one's probably set up for beginners, because I think
Yeah.
In the book we just looked at, the first one I think actually kind of mentions something about how this is for kind of people who are just new to the game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
Treasure Convoy is a MacGuffin. It's a relic mission.
every time I see MacGuffin, I always think of like Egg McMuffin, like for whatever reason.
Well, you know what? The relic could be an Egg McMuffin. It could be.
Oh, gross! Is this one from McDonald's or McDougal's? Oh, it's a MacGuffin from McDougal's. There we go.
Well, I don't know. All I know is it's 38,000 years old, so I hope everything's okay.
McDougal's has survived. McDonald's has not.
The Victor bonus is a free weapon enhancement on this one, so that makes sense for it being, a MacGuffin game.
Treasure Convoy. Yeah.
Yep. So the next one is emergency transmission. So this one starts to get cool. You have to steal the enemy plans through a central comms tower.
Okay.
So it's a little complicated. Rectangular corners, one objective in each and one in the center.
Mm-hmm.
The center one is the comms tower. So if you control an objective in an enemy deployment zone, you can perform an action at the comms tower to steal their secrets. So again, keep that in mind. You have to be holding the center objective in order to steal information from an enemy objective.
Got it. Okay.
So it's kind of it's difficult to actually get the enemy transmission.
Right. Yeah.
Because you have to be holding the middle as well in order to do that.
Ooh. Yeah, that could be hard. That could be very difficult.
It would be a lot harder. So you only have to control the enemy objective.
Mm-hmm.
You don't actually have to perform the action on the enemy objective. You have to perform the action on the center.
Okay.
Which, again, this is a good way of doing. You might have to work with someone in order to actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to say, "Hey, if you agree to screen my army as I do this, I'll screen for your army next turn," or something.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that works. That could be really cool. That could work.
Yeah.
I do like Sorry,
go ahead.
Oh, the end game you have 30 points for transmitting enemy plans and 50 if they're able to do it twice or more.
Oh yeah. You definitely win the game if you do it twice. You're you have dominated the game so much that
that's where you're running away with it. Yeah.
Right. And I love the Victor bonus for this one because it plays into the fact that this is the first mission where there's some wheeling and dealing going on and you're messing with each other. So you get a free use of a treacherous nature or honorable nature requisition up to 2 times.
Uh-huh.
And that's where you start turning units into treacherous or honorable.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. The next one is safeguard dignitaries. You're either murdering or protecting dignitaries.
Okay.
And you want to murder your opponent's dignitaries and you want to protect your dignitaries. And they're just people that are standing in your deployment zone. 2 objectives in each deployment zone. Now in this one, the deployment zone is interesting because it's a full, the battlefield is divided into 4 quarters,
right?
And there's no man's land at all.
Oh,
you're just not allowed to deploy within 9 inches of another enemy unit, which means that the person deploying last is totally screwed because they're going to get edged. They're going to get edged out by their opponents.
Yeah.
But this also means that your objectives are going to be contested almost right off the bat.
Right.
But their dignitaries are sitting in there, and you get points for making sure that your dignitaries don't die and for killing your opponent's dignitaries. Hold the Center is a take the high ground mission.
Mm-hmm.
They suggest in the middle of the battlefield putting at least a ruin, and putting the objective on the ruin or a hill or something for you to go after. Now, the next one is an interesting one, and there are a few more of these as the games get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that's really interesting because uh, you start messing with other people's objectives and stuff. So one objective in each no man's land between zones. And you perform an action on an objective, and its power is considered diverted to you. It remains diverted until someone else performs an action on it. So you're going around diverting power to you, and the other people are going around messing up your power diversion. This sets you up for later missions, which start getting super crazy.
That sounds very much like an AdMech type of thing.
Yeah, it does. So then you start getting into the incursion missions, and again, these are ones we are just paraphrasing, but this is where we start getting into some crazy stuff, like some serious wheeling and dealing. Opportunity strike. So each of your army is in 2 groups. I'm not sure how. I don't know if I really like this one.
Okay.
Half of your army is deployed, half of your army is reinforcements, and then you get VP if your deployed army kills something, and you get VP if your reinforcements army kills something. So your own army is split up into groups, and at 50 power level, that's actually not a lot. So I'm not sure you're going to be. It just seems boring. So then headhunt.
Well, it also sounds like a lot of paperwork and making sure you remember who was in reserve and who wasn't.
And who killed what and who. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So headhunt is an interesting. You're destroying your enemy's command and control structure. So you get points for holding objectives. You get points for performing actions on those objectives, like you're stealing secrets from their computers,
right?
And also points for killing characters because they're the commanders. So it's really interesting. I kind of like that one. It's simple, but it's multiple. It's more than one thing, but it also makes sense from a narrative perspective. So I kind of like that one. Race to Recover is just a looting mission. I think we've had these in the past where if you perform an action, you can perform an action 3 times on a objective, and you get points for holding the objectives, and you get points for looting the objective. Points of power. Now this is the big one. This is the one that starts setting up some crazy deception.
Yeah.
Okay. You start the game by secretly determining whether you're an activator or a deactivator.
Yeah.
You don't actually reveal that choice. Instead you say what you are. So you could write down deactivator and hide that for later. And you can say, yeah, I'm an activator.
Oh, man.
Right? So then later on, it's an action or to either activate or deactivate a conduit, and you score 10 points if you perform the action that turn. If you control the beacon in the center, so there's a beacon in the center, and you are a declared deactivator, you score 10 points for each deactivated conduit. If you're a declared activator and you control the beacon, you score 10 points for each activated conduit. So if you say, okay, I'm an activator, you score 10 points for each activated conduit.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the game, if you reveal your true purpose and score 5 points for each activated, deactivated conduit based on that true purpose.
Yeah.
So if you've been an activator all game, and you've been working with your pals who are also activators to activate, and you get points and whatever, and every once in a while taking turns taking the center and whatever. At the end of the game, you're like, oh yeah, I'm deactivating all these, and your opponent's like, wait, what? and you at the end of the game, they're all deactivated. You're going to get 5 points for each one that was deactivated.
Nice. Okay.
So it's a very interesting. And there's a bunch of those in here.
Yeah.
Twilight Assault is a simple one. It's just the areas around objectives are lit. Everywhere else, there's a -1 to hit. I'm not sure. There might be some hidden nuance there for multiplayer games.
Yeah.
Like, who's brave enough to jump on the objectives?
Mm-hmm.
It might be good to say maybe there's a reason, and maybe you shouldn't put a lot of terrain around those lit objectives.
Right.
Buried Treasure. This one's fun. You play six numbered objectives and then you roll a secret dice under a cup, so nobody sees it. You set that aside. It takes an action to dig up an objective marker, and if you do that, you can peek at the dice to see what number the Archaeotech is. And you're welcome to do whatever you want with this information.
Nice.
You could say, "Hey, I'll give you I'll take an RP and I'll tell you what number it is."
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Yeah. Okay. There's some fun that could be had there. I think the whole idea of having this, secret die under a cup would be, quite a bit of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's all sorts of chaos you could get involved in.
Oh yeah. And you can start thinking of other ways of adding wheeling and dealing to other missions as well, like custom missions for secret. I love the idea of buried treasure, and you have to dig it up. Like, sometimes it's not the right thing. I think there's other ways you can mess with that.
What's funny is, so I was talking with Keith last week about something, and I ended up watching the original Heavy Metal again, which has, the Lochnar, which they dig up in multiple areas.
They're MacGuffin, yeah.
Yeah. And just thinking about, you have to dig this up. It's like, oh, good, you get to dig this thing up that's going to kill you, rad. Or, it's going to make you awesome. Okay, cool.
The first Strike Force mission is Supply Raid. So every deployment zone has a command post access point, and you can actually, if you're wholly within 6 inches of an opponent's access point, you're considered to have infiltrated them.
Right.
And you get points for infiltrating. But I can also see that being a springboard for like a kill team game.
Yes.
Right. If you managed, you might be able to orchestrate which specific unit breaks through, but you may be forced to break through with some weird random unit that you would have never thought would have made it through. And so you're forced to use those big dumb idiots instead, right? Like maybe the Ogren made it through instead of the elite Elysians or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're forced to play your kill team game with a bunch of dumb idiots who don't know what they're doing. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That could be actually a lot of fun.
Defense line. So there are 8 objectives arranged in a big plus.
Okay.
So there's 4 objectives in the closer to the center and 4 objectives on the outside. And you score points based on like inner and outer defenses, which is somewhat interesting. Like you can kind of risk going for the inner defenses, or you could play on the outskirts. It's up to you. Then we have marching columns, which is one kind of like the Night Raid one, where you have 4 objectives marching down the center. And it's all kind of about there's danger with breaking cover and going for the known objective, kind of like an ambush or a lure type of mission. There's points for holding the objectives, but also points for killing units that are standing on objectives. And there's a special sniper fire stratagem.
Okay.
And it doesn't do mortal wounds. Instead, you use it and enemy unit subtracts 2 from their advance and charge rolls.
Oh, okay.
You can only use it once per turn. So I imagine different people could machinate going after us. If someone's winning, all the other 3 players can lock down 3 of their units.
Yeah.
So I think that's an
true. Yeah.
interesting thing to think about. The 5 shrines is one of my favorites. And that's another you secretly pick sides. You're either a shrine protector or a shrine destroyer, and you can lie about your true nature.
Mm-hmm.
So you score points for holding objectives and killing units within range of shrines, and at the end you score 5 VP for either destroyed or alive shrines based on your allegiance. Now, I like that the protectors and destroyers win different victor bonuses.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which is what I like about this. Protectors get a Crusade relic, while destroyers get a battle trait or a psychic fortitude. Because if the protectors won, then the shrines are active and there's like a super cool Crusade relic in there. If the shrines are destroyed, then they have learned from their horrible actions, and they have earned enmity, and they get a battle trait.
That would be really okay. I started thinking back about our what was that game that we played with Phil where we had the libraries that I was supposed to be looting, and Phil's like, no, we destroy.
I'm just gonna nuke them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, knowledge? Books? How dare you?
What are you, Thousand Suns?
Right. So the next one is Bonkers. The Swarm Rises.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's 8 objective markers.
No, this can't be real.
No, it's real. There's 8 objective markers, and if there's 10 or more models within range of a marker, a swarm of bees comes out and deals D6 mortal wounds to every unit nearby.
Is this
and the objectives yeah, this is the anti-skip mission. I'm going to bring this out the next time I play against him. You score for holding objectives and destroying units, but you have to be careful. This is where you can really start screwing each other over, right?
Yeah.
You can be like, if you don't stop messing with me, I'm going to walk over and there's going to be 11 models next to that objective and you're going to take D6 mortal wounds. Also, during that mission, you can anger the bees by advancing or charging. So if you advance or charge, you roll a D6 for that unit and any other unit within 1 inch of it. And on a 6, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So I can charge one of your units, and if I succeed at that charge, we both have a chance of being attacked by bees.
You know, whenever I'm in town next, we're playing this with Skip.
We need to play this as me, like maybe Mike if he comes.
Yeah.
And because he usually comes when you come.
Yeah.
You guys usually come simultaneously, which I really think that's nice.
Well,
that's
nice. We work on that.
It's very Canadian. So the next mission is called Turn Back Time.
I was wondering if you do that. Especially considering that tonight we turn back time.
We turn back time. That's true.
There we go.
Wow.
We actually figured this one out.
We're definitely going to do the time warp again.
That's
right. This
right.
one's super fun. Like all the really good ones came later.
Yeah.
Or at the same time. Anyways, there's an archaeotech device in the center of the battlefield. It's essentially a fountain of youth. There's no real interesting rules specific to turning back time, which I feel like that's a missed opportunity, but whatever. It's still a fun mission.
Yeah.
What's interesting is the secretive nature of the actions performed on it. So you can do investigate device, which is an action. After you do it, you secretly write down the battle round number and whether you did nothing or sabotage the device. You keep that secret. Then you can, or someone can activate the device. It's not an action. In your command phase, a character can choose to activate the device. If they do, players have to reveal their secret note. If the device was sabotaged, the character suffers a mortal wound on a 1 to 3 for each player who had sabotaged the device. So if there are 3 sabotages, you have a chance of taking 3 mortal wounds. You can also repair the device. All players must reveal their secret notes to the repairing player, not publicly. The repairing player gets to see their notes. Then they can choose to either have the players keep their secret notes or destroy them. Which is it? So they know if it's been. If they know if it's been sabotaged.
Yeah.
And they can say, oh, well, that's fine. Or they know it's not sabotaged. And they're like, oh, okay, this will be fine. You score VP for killing enemy units and either investigating or repairing the device. So you have to investigate in order to score VP anyways. So it's like a risk you take. So the Onslaught missions, a lot of them are these are very simple. Landing zone, there's an orbital debris mechanic. Raider or rescuer. So there's commanders and stasis pods scattered around the battlefield, and you have to either rescue them or raid them. It's essentially a secret purpose mission, but with an escort relic component added to it. So this could be a good one where you're playing a pair of like chaos. You could be playing all chaos or some Imperium and some of your rescuers, some of your raiders. But the last mission is the best.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite one. I love the concept of it.
Sorry, everyone. I'm reading the notes.
So you can either be a destroyer or a protector.
Uh-huh.
There are four objectives presenting the foundations of a shrine that's above you. You can place explosives on them. Every turn on your command phase, you can put a countdown token on. You put a countdown token on each of your detonation thingies. When it has 2 demolition markers on it, it explodes. Once 3 foundations are destroyed, the shrine comes crashing down, dealing mortal wounds. There's like this big complicated metric for scoring the objectives based on your allegiance and placing / diffusing explosives. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that this is a really cool... I think this is like kind of the perfect team game, the perfect 4 versus 4 game with a great narrative component to it. It kind of just combines all the fun things about the 4-player mission into one single big cool mission. Okay, now the children are dying.
Yeah, I heard that and I was like, oh, I hope that didn't come through on the recording.
Yeah, no, there's children being murdered and dogs being murdered. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it has nothing to do with coyotes.
Oh, I don't live in that part of town. I actually live inside of town. I don't. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fair enough.
The place I used to live in, we used to get coyotes and armadillos and all
wild
sorts
hogs.
of cool stuff. Wait, what?
Herds of wild hogs.
No, that was at my former spouse's. That was her family's house.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They had wild hogs, and yeah, that was scary.
I'm sure that was very safe.
Yeah.
All right.
Safe.
Well,
yeah.
What do you think, dude? I am really stoked that these mission packs have different ways to play in them.
I'm sorry. I'm still on the Swarm Rises with the bees.
It's the bees. The bees is pretty great.
I mean, Grand Demolition, I should love that one because, we're blowing up a shrine or not. But the bees, I think, is more of a way to troll our buddy Skip. And,
it's amazing. It's amazing, and I love it, and I'm here for it. We definitely have to do we definitely have to do every day play one of these 4-player missions and just love our life and drink too much. I think that'll be delightful.
That's fun.
But again, I think the main takeaway is each of these mission packs is a totally separate way to play and worth. I think it's worth your money. I mean, folks can decide for themselves whether I'm just shilling. And speaking of shilling, thanks to Games Workshop for giving us these free mission packs and
thank you.
Crusade books.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a quick break, come back, and close out the show.
Hey Archons, does 9th edition have you feeling like the Slith Party bus just doesn't have enough party for you? Well, If you want to put a little shock back into your shock brow, you need the Slip Party On! That's right, Archons. For 736 points, you can take 3 Archons, 12 Slip, and a Tantalus. It's the Slip Party On! Now, I know what you're thinking. Couldn't I take Drazar, 15 Incubi, and a Tantalus, aka the Incubi Murder Boat, for 51 less points? Sure, you could, but it wouldn't be the Slip Party On! But is it legal? Oh yeah! Is it awesome? Oh yeah! Is it any good on the table? No! It's the all-new Slith Party On. Sort of awesome. Party On! Really hilarious. Party On! It's the Slith Party On!
Oh, we've reached level 6. It smells like so many farts in here, and I'm not sure if it's Sunny or me. Sunny's a very good boy. It's probably me. Next episode, I'm not sure. I think, first of all, I have to actually, cash out and send you your portion of this, but thanks to those of you who are supporting us on Patreon. There's not a lot of you, but we got in on it super late, and also we're not offering anything at all for supporting us on Patreon.
My charm, we're offering my charm.
We offer you great charm.
Yeah.
But next episode, I think maybe we'll go through the second book of Warzone Octarius, because there's a lot of fun stuff in there, including orcs. So I think we'll just go over that.
I'm hoping to get the book next week or a couple of days.
Okay. All right. Good.
And they got that to you immediately. I couldn't believe how quickly you got it.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, I can believe it, because they've actually, I think we can actually mention that there's been times that we've received materials up to 2 months before we could talk about them.
Yeah, those were the times, but those were also the days other idiots who do this stuff leak it. And it's well, you people are jackasses. No one likes you, even your parents, especially your mother. So yeah, Warzone Octarius Book 2 Critical Mass next week.
Yep.
Next whatever, and also I'll be talking about my experiences losing at
the boys.
But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
We'd love it if you could give us a positive rating and review on iTunes.
If you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for Masters of the Forge.
And you can follow our hobby progress on Instagram with the hashtag Masters of the Forge.
If you'd like to engage with us directly, you can always join our Discord server.
To do so, or if you have any questions, topic suggestions, or if you'd like to advertise your creative hobby endeavor,
contact us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com.
Please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/mastersoftheforge. Thanks.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial, International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Podod of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.